All right. Hello, everyone. What's up? And welcome to
We're
Directions.
back.
We are back. Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Episode 3. They said
This
we
is good.
wouldn't make it,
Yeah,
but
here we are.
here we are. We're still
We're
still
still
rolling
here.
away. Also, I don't know who they are. I may have just made that up,
Yeah, that's
but
okay.
sometimes getting a little competitive,
Yeah,
that's just kind of my nature. So
it's good.
but yeah, so for those of you that don't know, right, Directions is your chance to connect with myself and Carly, and the 43 North Compass team to really talk about roles that exist in the startup world, opportunities to really learn more about your favorite kind of Buffalo startup, and really just to talk through trends and tips and things that we see happening, in the industry and around us every day. So that's what we're here for, right? We're here to guide you. We're here to help you. We're here to help you find the roles that you're looking for and land those opportunities. So once again, welcome to Directions. Um, so I told you a little bit about the show, and then for those of you that don't know, 43 North Compass, we are really the hiring arm of 43 North, right? We look to connect you with 43 North portfolio companies as they come into Buffalo, even as they exist in this world. We have 69 portfolio companies,
We
which is
sure do.
actually pretty impressive. Can you name them all
Ooh.
in like a single setting?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, either way, right? We have a
Yes,
lot.
actually, yes, I
Yes, you can.
can.
Yes, you can. I
Yeah,
believe in you,
duh.
right? Confidence, right? But even if you can't, if you just go to 43north.org/compass, right, that's going to take you to our page.
Mm.
And what you can do is you can sort companies out by 43 North portfolio companies or companies that just exist in the startup and tech ecosystem
Yep.
here in Buffalo.
You
And
know why
so
I like that? Can I
yeah,
interrupt you?
yeah, please.
I like that feature because it allows you to specifically read about the company.
Mm,
So you can learn more about each company, which I
yeah.
think is super helpful, especially how many times do we talk about how important it is to connect with the startup that you're potentially interested in working for. So I think that's a really great feature to be
Mhm.
able to read more about the companies under the 43 North portfolio, what they're doing, and if you really like their product, service, or what they've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I know we say this, right? And I'm sure we'll kind of hit in the broken record category on this, but
Mhm.
sometimes joining a startup is really about chasing a passion.
Definitely.
And so, obviously, when Uber first came around, no one knew what this thing was just by hearing the name of it. So you got to do research, you got to look at these companies, you got to check out what they're doing, how they're doing it. And it's really just a great way to learn more and
Yeah,
then find ways to really chase your passions. So
for sure.
again, right, you don't have to know all 43 North portfolio companies or every startup in the ecosystem. All you have to do is hit the little
Oh, here we
QR
go.
code, right? It's right up in there. That'll take you over to one of our pages where you can then get to our job board and check out all those amazing opportunities that exist right here in your own backyard. All right. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Christian Gaddis. I am the director of recruitment marketing here at 43 North. And so, it's really just my job to shout from the rooftops and really spread the word about the great things we're doing, the ways that you can connect with companies, and to keep you in the know about the latest opportunities, which is why, right, Directions is here.
Here
But
we are.
even more than that, right, we have an email newsletter that you can sign up for.
Mm.
So that way, you can stay on top of those opportunities. We deliver them right to your inbox every week. So it's just a great way to kind of get hit with the latest jobs. So maybe you don't feel like actively looking one week, but it's an easy way to kind of do that. So again, right? I'm Christian. That's my QR code. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, feel free. I am a friendly individual and always happy to connect and make introductions and really hook you up with whatever you need to hopefully find a life-changing opportunity right here in Buffalo.
Love it. And for
Yeah.
those of you who don't know me, I'm Carly Ortiz. I'm the Senior Talent Manager at 43 North, and my responsibility is to help our startup founders with finding talent here in Buffalo. And more importantly, connecting with you, the talent here in Buffalo that want to work for the startups, not only at 43 North, but the greater tech and startup ecosystem here. So you want to chat jobs, you want to chat about what it's like to work for a startup, how to get into one. Happy to connect up here.
Connect
Use
with Carly.
Yep, there we go. And we can chat whatever you want. I love it.
Yeah, always great. All right. So again, we've been doing this for a while, but I want to make sure everyone knows, right? Part of what makes this thing so great is us being able to connect with each and every one of you that are joining us. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, drop them in the chat. We will get to them as best we can live on air to make sure that we are, we're here for you and we're giving you guys the info that we need. So again, right, drop them in the chat. Let us know. Happy to answer whatever your questions are for the day.
Bring it on.
All right, you ready to get to some jobs?
I'm ready.
All right. Okay. Well, I talked about it before. I talked about it earlier. I'll say it again, right? Check out our job board. Latest opportunities in this growing startup and tech ecosystem. It's just a great way to stay in the know, so you're not going to 12 different sites to see who's hiring for what and when. It's all right there at your fingertips. So it's always great. All right. So one of the roles we're talking about today, and we're actually going outside the portfolio.
We are.
We're talking about Jerry. No, this isn't just like a solo individual. You're not going to be working for some guy named Jerry, although maybe they do have someone named Jerry that works there.
Cool.
I don't know. Probably cool, kind of confusing, right, on the emails, but
sure.
Either way, right? So Jerry is actually an exciting company. We get asked about Jerry a lot.
Yeah, we do.
So I know there's, a good buzz for Jerry in the community, and rightfully so, right? Because they've raised over 240 million. And have seen almost 40 times revenue growth since their launch in 2019. So, I mean,
amazing.
Jerry is growing quickly. And what they do is they're revolutionizing the car ownership with its All Care app that really uses AI to enhance every aspect of car ownership, from finding the best insurance to handling maintenance and repairs. And so it kind of streamlines that entire process and saves users time, which is really cool, right? And so what they're looking for is actually an accounting manager to join their team. And so what this person's going to do is they're going to play a critical role in helping to scale the business, reporting directly to that VP of finance, and handling nearly all financial activities and operations. And so, this is covering everything from month closing processes to executive and board level financial comparisons and reporting. You'll really be at the forefront of financial operations, which, sounds great. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a marketing guy. I got into marketing because specifically, right, there was or is no math or limited math. But for someone, that's a dream job.
And good time to point out our broken record in the sense that you don't have to work in as a developer, coder, whatever you want to call it, tech, if you will. Someone's hiring in accounting. If you're in finance, you're in the world of numbers, so to speak. This is the job for you to check out.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, right, if you're interested in Jerry, scan the QR code. They got a lot of other open roles that are really, really great and really interesting opportunities. Again, hiring in Buffalo. They have a remote team and just a lot of great opportunities, again, to join this fast growing startup in our ecosystem. And interestingly enough, again, right, not a portfolio company. So
I love it.
It's always great to see when companies are successful, and it's growing right here in our own backyard. It shows that this ecosystem, this thing that we're building, it's got some traction. There's something special about it. And so moving on from a financial role to a company in the financial technology ecosystem in Valmar Holdings. And so Valmar is a cutting edge loan management software system that's streamlining lending decisions with automation and real-time KPI tracking. So it's focused really on a user-friendly interface, advancing functionalities, and shaping the future of finance. Just another really interesting company, right? Kind of popping up right here in our own backyard, doing things differently. And I think that's always the other thing that I find super interesting about, right, companies and even right founders themselves. How many times in life do you encounter a problem and you're kind of like, man, that's weird. Okay. All right. And you maybe come up with some little workaround and you're like, all right, I figured it out. All right, just stop doing this thing. Right. But what's interesting is these founders, they encounter a problem and then they're like, wait, I can do this better. And I can fix this, and I can fix this for everybody.
I love it.
And so it's just a really, really interesting kind of take on this. And what they're seeking is a React developer, which, I'm going to throw a lot of jargon out here.
Ooh,
but it's going to speak to somebody, right?
It is.
Because, if I'm speaking your language, then you're going to want to hit that QR code. But basically, you're going to work on cutting edge technologies and collaborate cross-functionally with teams to deliver high quality, scalable, and responsive applications that meets Valmar's business needs. I kind of hyped it up a little bit. I want to keep it simple. I want the people to understand the role, right?
I like it.
But I think the most important thing about that, right, is if you have a passion for technology, if you want to be a part of reshaping the fintech landscape, Valmar is really, it's a great company to join. It's a lot of, a great opportunity again to get in there, get on the ground floor and kind of build something. And that's really what it's all about when you're joining a startup, is just building and making things better and just really improving. Again, right, you go in as a developer, I'm sure you're gonna have to wear a lot of hats, you're gonna do things a little differently, as always. But I think at the end of it, you come out with some great experience.
Cool.
All right, cool. So that's our jobs for the week. Again, right, check out more, visit the Compass job board. They're all there. It's a great opportunity, again, to just see what exists in this ecosystem. And you can join our talent network.
Oh,
And so then when someone like
Easy.
Carly is searching for talent, she can find you, right? And the best thing about our talent network is it connects to your LinkedIn account. So you don't have to worry about having some dated 5-year-old resume floating out there somewhere, right? It updates when you update. So then Carly's like, hey, this person, I see they just got a certification. And that's just what we need for this. I see they're continuing their education. I see they're passionate about fintech. And maybe I should introduce them to my friends at Valmar, right? So it's just a great opportunity. It's an easy way to make sure that you are, active and looking, or even if you're not active, it's a great way to just kind of passively look. So yeah, absolutely. All right, Carly. So I know we skimmed through some jobs this week because we really wanted to kind of have a conversation focused more on, right, interview prep and how do you get ready for your interview, but even more importantly, or almost just as important, right, how do you dress for your interview? Because sometimes, dressing the part that gives you confidence, and when you're confident in your own skin and you're not worried about how you're looking or feeling or if you're dressed appropriately, you can really focus on connecting with your interviewer and having a conversation. So, I would love to just hear kind of your general advice for interview prep and attire.
Okay. So there are so many different things we can discuss when it comes to prepping for an interview and your attire and what you wear. So let's start with prep. What does it mean to prep for an interview? So simply, you should be doing research on the company, maybe checking out their social media, anything that you can find. The internet is at our fingertips. So do the research on the company and be prepared to maybe ask some questions, right? Like have some questions written down already that you're bringing to the interview that are going to be useful and helping you make your decision to hopefully join a company as well. Because while they're interviewing you, I think in return, it's also helpful to interview them in a way that helps you understand if this is truly a company you want to work for, especially a startup. So prepping is really important to make sure the position that you're going to be talking about, more about the company, and have some questions prepared during the interview so that you can feel confident going in.
Yeah.
So that's some prep that I would do. Anything you can think of, or maybe anything you've done?
I mean, I love the idea, and I feel like the things that always stands out to me whenever I ask people about, a candidate that they spoke with, is that whenever someone's like, it almost felt like they were, when the company, the representative from the company is like, it almost felt like they were interviewing me.
Yeah.
I think those are the things that really, really stand out in my mind. I always say, for me, I want interviews to feel super conversational.
Definitely.
I think there's nothing worse than kind of when you ask the question, you get like the robotic answer. I almost want to just feel like, hey, just, for me, the best interviews almost start with tell me about yourself. And then I never actually go back to like any of the questions that I have prepared to ask them. It just kind of flows. But I know a lot of that, right, is in that upfront. So I always tell people that tell me about yourself is like your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
If you nail that, usually, the rest of the interview is going to go pretty smooth.
And it should really be like storytelling. So what are the things that you've done in your past, whether it's your current role, previous roles, in school, clubs, organizations that you volunteered with, whatever that looks like for you, you should be able to connect the dots for the interviewer and tell them, hey, this is what I've done, and this is how I think my skills can translate into this role. Because so often we talk about how you don't have to have experience. You can pivot into the startup world. And so what does that mean? It means simply taking a look at the experience you do have and how that translates into the role that you're interviewing for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just it, right? one thing that made me think of a question for you though.
Oh, okay.
Like, what is the sweet spot in terms of that intro of tell me about yourself, right? Like,
Mm,
if you're someone who, let's say I've been in the industry or I've been working professionally, for 10, 15 plus years, right?
sure.
Should I go all the way back to college and say,
Mm,
hey, when I was a freshman, I was the treasurer for the snack club? Or like, how far back should I go? And do
great
I really need to
question.
tailor that for everyone? Or is it just, you know, the general, this is me?
Yeah, I think it's a good blend.
Mm,
So, couple of things. There's no wrong way to answer the question.
mhm,
But be yourself, be true to who you are. Maybe start with what you're currently doing.
mm,
How'd you get there? Why'd you get there? Why are you looking for this new opportunity? Or if you only have, 5 or so years of experience, maybe start from the beginning. What took you and led you to the path that you're in? So there's no wrong way to answer that question, but be confident. You're talking about yourself, and sometimes that's the hardest thing to do.
mhm,
But if you have some bullet points, if you will, that okay, this is why I work for this company. I am really passionate about X, Y, and Z. I went to school for this. Or maybe I didn't go to school and that shaped me into the role I am in now and the
mhm.
person I am today. So just be prepared with a handful of bullet points that help you feel confident in your decision to answer that question.
You know what my favorite thing about that bit of advice is? That's true for startup. That's true for corporate.
Yeah,
That's true just for life in general.
sure.
That's kind of, you just dropped this just life
Wow.
facts.
Be authentic.
Yeah.
Be you.
But okay, so let's get a little bit deeper into, right, like startup.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that we always tell people, and it's our favorite part, or one of our favorite parts about working at a startup is obviously you kind of, I don't want to say you throw the dress code out the window, but it's
Sure.
pretty casual, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think if I were working at, Corporations USA, that's a company I just made up, but
Mhm.
it's a very corporate
Sounds a good
company.
one.
I would be able to wear like a concert T-shirt and a flannel jacket type thing. So
Yeah.
like, obviously, I think people look at startups and they think, oh, okay, everything's super relaxed. But then that leads to a layer of confusion because you're like, but what
What
do
do
I
I
wear
wear?
to this interview? I want to
Yeah.
look professional because I am professional, but also I don't want, Joe Startup to say, hey, who's the guy in the suit necessarily?
Absolutely. This is my favorite question, I think, for startups because I have the experience of both. I've
Mhm,
worked for a large corporation where I've had to maybe dress up a little bit more. Then I've also worked for a corporation where we had a pretty lax dress code
mhm,
and you could wear jeans to the office or a hoodie and it was acceptable. And then coming into the startup world, it was like, it's so lax that I really don't know what to wear. But I think I'm going to go back to another point. Be true to who you
mm,
are, but it never hurts to err on the side of caution in terms of business casual, right? Because business casual can mean jeans and a blazer.
mm,
It can mean a nice top or a button down and jeans. It could mean slacks. And, it really, there's a whole breadth of things that business casual
yeah,
can mean. But you don't want to go into the interview thinking, all right, well, I'm just going to wear jeans and my t shirt because this is what I wear every day. You still are interviewing for a job. So I think it's
mm,
important to put your best foot forward and make sure you're comfortable in the clothing because an interview for anything can be nerve wracking. And we talk about being prepared for the interview and what that means. So that also means like comfort in what you're wearing. So plan that ahead of time as
mm,
well. But be true to yourself and err on the side of caution. Go business casual more than anything.
yeah. I think one of the key nuggets I'm going to pull out there, right, is the planning ahead of time.
Mm,
And I think one of the traps that people sometimes can get into, right, is, and I think this is a crucial part of interview prep, is just timing in general.
sure.
Like, what time should I get there?
Ooh.
Where do I need to go to park? Where do I need to go to make sure I'm in the building? Who do I call? And so I think,
Ghostbusters. I don't know why that just popped out. I'm not sure. It just felt
hey, I
right.
mean, sometimes when they ask who you're going to call,
Yeah, I don't
that's the
know.
right response.
Just felt like we needed that.
Um, but no, I mean, so those are a critical part, I think, in kind of right interview prep that
Yeah.
gets overlooked. So what do I guess, what do you recommend for? Because I've had times where like people have shown up like 30 minutes early for an interview, and I'm like, okay, but they gotta wait. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So like, what's the timing? How do you prep for the timing of that?
I would say 10, 15 minutes
Mhm,
max. And it's important prepping beforehand. Do you know where you're going? Is there somewhere to park if you're driving yourself? Um, does it take time? Like, what is the bus schedule or how long does it take to walk there? Like, do that research first
Mhm.
so that you can be prepared the day of and you're not winging it that morning, afternoon, whatever time of day it is. So I think that's really important. 10 to 15 minutes, I think, is best. I'm an early bird no matter what, though.
Mm.
I show up to everything early, I like to think. I was raised that if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. But not everybody has that philosophy, and
Yeah.
that's okay. But be prepared, be ready, come in, show them that you're enthusiastic, you're excited about the opportunity to be there, and that you're not strolling in 1 minute before it's time to start the interview or a few minutes late. But hey, things happen. So if something comes up that's out of your control, contact the interviewer
Mhm.
as soon as you possibly can based on the circumstances to say, hey, something came up. I need to reschedule, or I'm really sorry, I'm running late. Been an accident on the highway, whatever that looks like.
Mhm. Yeah. Another thing I'd love to hit on, right, to talk about with interview prep
Mm.
is, and I think we heard about this recently with a candidate where they showed up with a prepared deck of things that
Oh,
the company
yes.
could do
Mm.
to improve, to change, to make the user experience and even kind of their marketing overall better,
Yeah.
right? How do you feel about that?
Mm.
Especially knowing that sometimes, right, it can be a gamble.
Sure.
You can end up, wasting time on a thing, or how would you advise someone on if they should do that, or when, or their thoughts even in general on it?
I think it definitely depends. Like, you're not coming to interview number one with this prepared deck
Mhm.
of, hey, this is how you need to improve. I think you need to have multiple conversations first with,
Mhm.
several employees or maybe the founder or another co-founder to really understand what their needs are and why this person or position is coming into play at this particular time in the company. And then from there, if you have the true expertise and knowledge in a certain area, it doesn't hurt to put together that information. But really, I think you need to fully understand or have a good understanding from the founder, co-founder, whomever in the company, what the problem is that they're facing and
Yeah.
why this you could potentially be coming on board.
So what you're saying is day one, I shouldn't walk in and just be like, your company's terrible and here's why.
That might not work.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna write that one down
Yeah.
just to make
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Good.
No, but I think, right, and that speaks to the research that you'll do in those moments as well, right?
For sure.
So, I guess when someone is researching a startup
Yeah.
in that interview prep, what are the things that you think they should look for? What are the key things that they should be pulling out about the company, whether it's culture, what they do, their current team? Like, what things would you advise people to kind of look for and find?
I would definitely look into what's important to you as a person.
Mhm.
And so many times I've said you have to connect to the product, service, and the founder of a startup, especially at this stage. An early stage startup, it's really important. So preparing yourself by going onto their social media accounts, going onto LinkedIn, doing the research on the company, like when was it founded? Why
Mhm.
was it founded? Where did they start? Why are they here in Buffalo, perhaps? So, getting a better understanding of what they're doing and why is important. I would think coming up with a few questions that could just be very general questions
Mhm.
around why this started, something about the product or service, or even the founder is useful. But also trying to understand the company culture can be very challenging over social media, or taking a look at their website. But I think you start to get an idea when you see people interacting on social
Mm.
media, or you take a look at LinkedIn and somebody's been there for a handful of years. And I say handful for the simple fact that maybe the startup's only been there for a handful of years. They just started a few years
Right.
ago. Maybe they have two employees, but they're going back and forth all the time, and you can tell they really like it.
Yeah.
So, there's quite a few things you can do to research a company or to prep yourself for a company in the beginning.
Mhm.
Um, so getting to know as best you can, but I think those questions are going to be most useful to you.
Yeah. Okay. What else would you advise in this interview prep? Right. I know we talked about kind of doing your research. We got you some outfit
Yeah.
ideas. What else should people kind of do as they start to, really explore once they've landed this interview if they really want to wow?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
They really want to wow.
Hard-hitting questions.
I would say you really want to wow, go in and be yourself. Try to understand. That is my best advice that I can give to anyone. You're going to show up as you every day at work, and you're going to be asked to give it your all 110% at a startup. Everybody has things going on, but 9 times out of 10 you're building the plane while you're flying it, so to speak. And so they want somebody to come in as themselves, their authentic self, and just be true to who you are. You don't have to, if you don't know the answer to a question, you don't need to lie. You can simply say, you know what, I actually don't know that, but here's something that I think can relate to that. Or, you know what, could you maybe rephrase that question? I'm not understanding it. Don't be afraid to just ask questions during the interview. Be true to who you are, because that's who's showing up to work every day.
2 great things from there. 1, don't be afraid to ask questions, both in the interview and in the chat. So if you guys have any questions, right, drop them in the chat. You like the way that's seamless.
Worked well.
But one of the other things that really, I think, a common misconception that people have in an interview is they think that the phrase "I don't know" is forbidden.
Right.
Right. I think and most people tend, especially in the interviewing kind of position, respect it more when someone is willing to say, I don't know, but I can find an answer to that, right?
Yeah, here's how I would go into figuring that out.
And I think the other thing that should, or what I typically and historically have tried to do in situations like that, is I'll turn that into kind of my foot in the door for the follow-up, right?
Sure.
And so, whatever it is, whether it's the next day, whether it's an hour later, if I'm really on my game, or whatever the timing of it is, right? The follow-up is, hey, I know we talked about this and you asked me this question. I didn't know it in the room, but I was able to look into some things, and here are the answers, right? Or here's something that I was able to find that can be useful, right? I think, especially in the startup space, right, there's going to be a lot of I don't knows and we're figuring it out.
Yep.
But you showing that you're willing and able to take that initiative and turn that I don't know into, a knowledge point or something that you can use to really connect and kind of, close the loop, so to speak, to use some other corporate slangy words.
Jargon.
But I think it's a great opportunity to do so, right? And you can kind of turn this, what may be a weakness, right, into a superpower, or even a power of yours of being like, I'm willing to go the extra mile to learn.
I think that shows passion.
Yeah.
And your creativity, your innovation. Those are all buzzwords, I suppose. But I think that's the other thing that founders are looking for, or startups in general, is just somebody who's willing to collaborate, be creative, innovate, and they're passionate about what the startup is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. That's such a great point of highlighting and showcasing passion.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, that may be the difference. If you're matched up evenly with somebody skill-wise that maybe you're competing for a job with, but you're able to show that you have the passion that's going to take it to the next level, that you're excited about it. That's a great way of separating yourself and, making yourself stand out and
definitely
possibly getting yourself a wow.
Love it.
Yeah. Great. Anything else, Carly? Interview prep, startup attire, or anything that, we feel like the people need to know?
No, I'd love to know if anyone has any questions or what they're thinking out there.
Yeah. I mean, we're opening it up to the viewers, to you all. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. We'd love to answer them. There's already one in there asking from John. John, I see you. Thanks again for joining us. John's a loyal viewer. John may be a super viewer at this point.
So.
We may have to get him some type of little LinkedIn badge or something like that to
if
be like,
it's possible. We're making that up. I don't know. But
I don't even know
it.
that they do that, but
no, but here we are.
LinkedIn,
Thanks, John.
if you don't do that, do that. But John asked, right, for when we use the term portfolio companies, if those are only ones that have won the annual competition, or does it include companies of a similar spirit? So yes, when we say portfolio companies, we are referring to specifically companies within the 43 North portfolio. So those are companies that we have invested in as an organization and that have gone through our program.
Yep.
Part of the benefit, part of one of the great things about being, in our portfolio is just that you get access to a recruiter like Carly, who can help you with hands-on recruiting, finding talent, sourcing talent, drafting job descriptions. So it's really, one of the major benefits of our program. And something that we're quickly finding that not a lot of other startup accelerators have. So if there are any founders out here watching that are interested in applying for 43 North, stay tuned. And maybe one day you'll get to work with Carly.
How fun would that be?
All right, John, great question though. Thank you so much. Any other questions in the chat? We'll leave it open for a little bit longer here just to make sure that if anyone has anything, they can chime in.
And feel free to send me a message at any time if you're wondering how to ask a question in an interview, if you think it's appropriate. Happy to go back and forth with really anybody that has, interview prep coming up, what they're currently working on, or what they've seen to work well for them. And, just want to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, guys, I would say that, our comments are always open on our LinkedIn posts, on our Instagram posts. So if you can't connect with, or you're not connected with Carly directly, but you maybe have a question for us that you want answered on directions, just drop them in the comments on a post. We keep an eye on those. We'll get to those. We'll bring them up in our next chat. All right. I think that's it. It doesn't seem like John's the only one who's active in the comments and the chats today, which is all good. We appreciate everyone for joining us. Again, I'm Christian Gaddis, the Director of Recruitment Marketing here at 43 North. I've been joined by my friend Carly Ortiz, the Senior Talent Manager. We'll see you on the next Directions.
Bye, guys.